All truth is God's truth. This idea was expressed by Augustine in the 4th century, and it's been repeated by wise, godly Christian scholars ever since.
All truth is from God. So I think it's hard to say we're going to divide up science and religion.
I think it's wrong to say that science and religion can't exist in harmony.
I think there's overlap. I think there's a couple important things to remember. I think that science and religion are at times both trying to look for the same thing. They're trying to find truth. They're trying to find answers to questions. And so, because I believe that all truth is God's truth, I think that there doesn't have to be inherent conflict. I think there sometimes is conflict. Part of the conflict has to do with that they use different methodologies, right?
Science is more objective and deals with, what we call hard facts. And religion is what is normative.
Science and religion serve to answer different questions about reality. Religion is a discipline that deals with our purpose in life, and science deals more with explanations of how things happen. And there's a difference in that science provides evidence for things that you see in life, whereas religion is based on faith and belief.
The difference, not the division, but the difference between science and faith is their scope and methodologies. Science has developed very powerful methodologies for discovering truth about the physical world. This can be seen in the powerful technologies that have harnessed the natural world, and so that information is obvious. Religion is not restricted to factors that can be perceived with the physical senses, and its ways of knowing are quite different from science's, and so each discipline should respect the other's spheres of expertise. Both science and religion are human enterprises, and because of human misinterpretations and fallibilities, there can be perceived conflicts.
Is there a challenge? Yes. But it's because of the way some folks have used the data to try to say God doesn't exist because we can't prove him in a test tube. So I think the challenge probably to believers is to help see the different arenas in which those two ways of thinking about things operate.
And I think there are things that sometimes will look like conflict, but if we continue to explore them, they may not necessarily be conflict.
The supposed conflict is between persons who misinterpret science or religion and fail to respect the truth found in the other domain. This can be due to ignorance or to arrogance. There are many, many theologians and scientists who are in harmonious agreement.
Unless you happen to be a biblical literalist, a person who believes that the Bible is, literally factual, or it's a history/science book, which it isn't. The Bible really has, more questions in it than it has answers.
I think a lot of the conflict that people create between science and religion is based on your interpretation of Scripture. And if you're going to say that, if you're going to interpret, especially Genesis, very literally, then you're going to have a lot of conflict between your science and your religion, because your religion is going to tell you that in 7 days God created the world, but your science is going to tell you that there are, things on Earth now that we can trace back to millions of years ago. And if we tried to see how that overlaps with a 7-day creation, it's not going to fit. So there'd be a lot of conflict there. But I think that a lot of Scripture can be interpreted differently. I think that the Genesis story in particular is meant to be written so that people of the time period can understand. And without our modern technology, they don't have the ability to grasp the age of the earth in general. And it's poetic, like the language in Genesis is poetic, so I don't feel like you can always take poetry to be complete truth.
Science should not say that only tangible things exist. That can't be proved objectively. Religion should not claim to have opposing knowledge about the natural world in the domain of science.
If someone's going to live their life trying to prove someone else wrong, then you're just going to run into a bunch of conflict. So I think that the main things that people in this debate need to think about are, why did God create? Because I think both sides agree that God created. Those who accept evolution and are Christians, and those who are Christians who don't accept evolution, agree that God created. And the discussion needs to be about why he created and not when or how, because there's a lot of conflict that arises there, and I don't think God calls us to live in conflict with each other.
How God did it, I don't know for sure. I think that, again, that takes us really back to the issue of Scripture, how you understand when you talk about Scripture being inspired, what you mean by that. I think that the Nazarene position is such on Scripture that, again, we believe that the Scripture is inerrant in revealing all things necessary to salvation.
Certainly, I think if we understand that God is transcendent and immanent both, that is, he both exists outside of the universe but is intimately involved in it, I think that whatever changes go on today, I think we have to say God is divinely involved in that. So could he have used a process of change over a period of time? I think so. But the Bible's not about that. It's about who did it.
Most of us have remained silent in the past because of fearing that we'll offend our brothers and sisters. However, in the last 10 years or so, several really good books and resources have been published that can help to explain this reconciliation in simple language that's available to anyone who wants to understand.
I don't think Christians need to be frightened of science. I don't think we need to be frightened of anything. I think that God is big enough and bigger than all these things, and that God has given us these amazing tools to understand him better and to understand the world better that we live in. I think that science is one of the gifts that we've been given, and that we should use it. We should use it carefully, like anything. Theology itself's been misused to abuse people and whole races of people and to justify things that now we just think are unbelievable. So I don't think we need to be frightened of science, but we need to think about it. We need to always be thoughtful.